Thank you very much. Thank you very much, all of you. Thanks for being here. What a wonderful setting it is. So historic. Our governor's mansion behind us, and just a few yards away, the state capitol. And not far from that, we have the place where the Red Stick was in 1699 when Iberville and Bienville came up the Mississippi and saw that big red cypress tree stained with animal blood, and they said, "Ah, le bâton rouge." And that was our beginning here. In 1779, right on the hills in front of the Capitol, part of the Battle of Baton Rouge, where the Spanish and the Americans defeated the British, and this was no longer a British colony. And in 1810, just on the other side of the Pentagon Barracks, that's where the freedom fighters for the Republic of West Florida defeated the Spanish and set up an independent republic, the Republic of West Florida, that then became part of Louisiana. Since 1812, we have been a free state associated with the United States of America. And not once, under all the governors who've served our state since the Spanish, not once has one tried to suspend the Constitution or take away our liberties until now. This is a free land. In Louisiana, we love our freedom. We love to have fun. We love to be together. We love to shake hands. Is there somebody who would shake my hand right now? Come here and shake my hand. Is there somebody who would hug my neck?
One more. God bless you.
You see, I'm not going to quit shaking hands with people. I'm going to shake hands with anyone who wants to shake hands with me. And I'm going to hug the neck of any brother or sister who wants to hug my neck. Because it's my body, my choice, right? Nobody ever gave the governor the right to decide who I touch and who I'm close to. You know, we have a constitution, not only our federal constitution, but our state constitution. We spent a year, not far from here, at a hotel that's no longer there on the lake shore, drafting a new constitution. It was voted upon by the people of our state. I want to point out one thing about that constitution. In Article 10, Section 30, there's the oath of office that every elected official in our state is required to take prior to becoming officially in their office. It says this: everyone took it, including our governor. I, state your name, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States and the Constitution and laws of this state, and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent on me according to the best of my ability and understanding, so help me God. So when our governor took that oath, he pledged to abide by this Constitution of our state and the Constitution of the United States. Nowhere in this Constitution or in the United States Constitution is there given to a governor or anyone else the ability, the right, or the power to suspend any part of it. When we look at Article 1 of our Constitution, and if someone would not mind grabbing this framed document for me right here. These are provisions of our Louisiana Constitution that I had a role in drafting. This is much of our Declaration of Rights. Now, I'm not going to do what he did, but let me tell you what he did. He took a spike like this and put it right in the heart of it, like that. That's what he's done. Because our Constitution, you can put it down, thank you. Our Constitution is meant to be observed. And I want you to hear for a moment Article 1, Section 1 of our Constitution in the Declaration of Rights, the chapter called the Declaration of Rights. The rights enumerated in this article are inalienable by the state and shall be preserved inviolate by the state. think of that moment. Two things. They are inalienable, which means they cannot be given away. In other words, you and I cannot give away our rights or the rights, especially of future generations. The Constitution of the United States says unalienable rights. They cannot be given away. And further, in this provision, there's another thought. The rights enumerated in this article shall be preserved inviolate by the state. Our governor not only has the obligation to abide by the Declaration of Rights, but has the obligation to make sure that they are protected inviolate. It's an affirmative duty on our elected officials to protect the rights in our Constitution. Now I want you to look at Article 1, Section 2. No person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property except by due process of law. That means you cannot have your freedom of speech, your freedom of assembly, your right to press, your right to freedom of religion, your right to life without due process of law. That means like going to court. Like if you've been convicted of a crime, you've gone to court and they can take away your life or your property or your liberty. But it takes due process of law. No edict by a governor under this Constitution can be taken away, can take away our rights. Right to individual dignity. And I want you to think about that. Article 1, Section 3. No person shall be denied equal protection of the laws. For example, you can't make one law that applies to a church and take another law and make it apply to Walmart. You can't say that if there are 10 or more people, you can't have church, but you can't have Walmart. That's a denial of equal protection of the law. Now look at the next sentence. This is very interesting to me, looking back, knowing how it was drafted. It says, no law shall discriminate against a person because of race or religious ideas, beliefs, or affiliations. That's an absolute prohibition. You cannot discriminate by law in this state based on race or religion. Now then it says, no law shall arbitrarily, capriciously, or unreasonably discriminate against a person because of birth, age, sex, culture, physical condition, or political ideas. So you can have discrimination in our state based on sex. For example, you can't have bathrooms that are separate. You can have based on age, like a mandatory retirement age for judges. You can have certain kinds of discrimination, but there's two instances where no discrimination is allowed: race and religion under our Constitution. Article 1, Section 4, right to property. All these businesses that have been told to close, people told they cannot go to work. What does it say? Every person has the right to acquire, own, control, use, enjoy, protect, and dispose of private property. Amen. But we're saying right now, through an edict, that a willing buyer and a willing seller cannot do business. That someone who's leased an office or purchased a building can't open it. Even if they're not sick or whatever, they're just prohibited. No due process of law, no equal protection, no right to property. Article 1, Section 5. And this is unique to Louisiana. Every person shall be secure in his person, property, communications, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches, seizures, or invasions of privacy. Now they have a whole army of people they are hiring right now called tracers. If you've had COVID, or you think you might have had COVID, or you've been reported to somebody by having it, they're going to be going to you, they're already doing it, and trying to find everybody you know, everybody you've had contact, and then they assume the power to quarantine those people, to grab them and take them out of their lives, and basically imprison them in their homes. Invasions of privacy, shaking hands, how close you are to another person. That's your right. That's your body. And this would be an invasion of privacy. Now I want to skip over to Article 1, Section 8, freedom of religion. No law shall be enacted respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. The free exercise thereof. The free exercise thereof. Now we have a situation, unbelievable, where we are being told that, oh, if you're told you can't have church in your church, that's not a problem. That's not violating your freedom of religion. There is nothing more essential to freedom of religion than the ability to have church. And anything else is nonsense. It's nonsense. And we're being told that. We have Christians convinced of that. We have Christians using Romans 13, 1 through 8, misreading it to say you're supposed to abide by whatever edict the governor issues. The edicts of the governor are not law. The Constitution is the law. The U.S. Constitution of our land, the Constitution of Louisiana is the law of our state, and then there are statutes. We have three branches of government: legislative, executive, and judicial. The legislature makes the laws. The judicial executes the law or interprets the law, and the executive enforces the law. The executive does not make the law. Under this Constitution, maybe in Cuba, or in the former Soviet Union, or Nicaragua, maybe the executive makes the law, but in the United States of America and Louisiana, it's the province of the legislature. So don't tell me that this assembly here today violates the law. These are free Americans. You have 10 or more people. Some of you aren't social distancing. And that's your right. That's what we fought and died for. That's how my dad was burned over much of his body and had a broken back fighting German submarines for this very thing. It wasn't about a disease. It was about freedom. Diseases come and go, but our freedoms are forever. This wasn't except when we have a liberal governor, except when we have a socialist country, except when there's a disease. There's no exceptions to the Constitution or the Bill of Rights. And Romans 13:1, let me just pause on that. If it really means that you are supposed to abide by everything the king, the emperor, the governor says, then that means Joseph and Mary were two big rebels because they fled from the king's edicts who ordered that the babies would be killed. It was wrong to have a civil war to ensure to end slavery and protect our black citizens of this country because we were supposed to obey the law of the land, which was slavery. It was wrong for this United States even to exist because this country came about overthrowing the rule of King George. That was the law of the land, that we would have a king. But Americans do not want a king. They want to govern themselves and mostly have their freedom protected. We don't need a king. We don't need an emperor. We don't need one-man rule. We don't need one person sitting in his office or maybe with a mask on at his desk in the mansion deciding who is essential and who is not essential. Have you ever heard such an absurdity of one person being able to say, this business is essential, they get to open. That other business is not essential, they don't get to. The legislature would debate for weeks or months over one little tiny sentence in that decree, but one man just gets to do it automatically because suddenly the Constitution is out the door. No. Article 1, Section 9, right of assembly and petition. No law shall impair the right of any person to assemble peaceably. Have we been peaceable today? Or to petition government for a redress of grievances. When a church meets, that's not only freedom of religion, in action. It's freedom of assembly.
That's right.
Now, we've had judges say, you're free to go in your closet and pray.
Oh, thanks.
They say
Thanks.
But freedom of religion is a lot more than that. And we have a pastor in this state who has a leg bracelet right now, who's not allowed to leave his home, who every time he goes to preach does so at jeopardy of going to jail.
That's right. Take it off.
That's a national story. That's a worldwide story, because freedom of religion is the most basic thing we have. Why did people come to this country? Why did they come to this country? Think about the Pilgrims. They came here for freedom of worship, freedom of religion, in colony after colony.
That's right.
Think about the Cajuns who came here from Nova Scotia. They were under the British, who were Protestants, and that was one of the big problems. They were Catholic. They wanted to exercise their own freedom of religion. They wanted to have their own lifestyle, and they couldn't. And so the British drove them out, and they fled here to these swamps where no one had ever lived successfully. And they made a life, and they made a world for them.
Yeah.
They didn't come here to be told what to do
That's right.
by a dictator. They came here seeking freedom
For everybody.
for everybody.
That's right.
In case I've forgotten a point or two, let me just refer to this. You know what? I want to start a free breath movement.
That sounds
Breathe free. And here's the first point. You know, I was born a free man.
right.
That freedom was a gift from God
Right.
and was guaranteed to me by the blood of patriots.
Right.
It is my obligation to keep this country free. For our children, for our grandchildren, for posterity.
That's right.
It's an obligation. I have the right to breathe free,
Yeah.
to have my face uncovered,
Yeah.
enjoying the sunshine, not a lot today, but when there is, and fresh, clean air that God gave me.
Right. That's right.
Number 3, this is my land, and I'm not going to hover in a closet in my house to satisfy a tyrant's whims. I'm going to go out and about, enjoying this world, enjoying this land, and the freedom that we are guaranteed by our Constitution. And number 4, it is my body, my choice. We've heard that so much, haven't we? I will shake hands with another man who wants to shake hands with me. I will embrace and hug their neck of a brother or sister who wants to embrace me. And I will stand proud next to any American and salute our flag, watch the sunset, cheer for the Tigers, and they don't have to be 6 feet away.
Stop it.
I will go out and eat and sit with my friends, and we might get a little close. And I will go to church and sit by whomever I please. There is no law saying I can't.
That's right.
The Constitution says I can. Only one man says I can't,
Yeah.
and that's not good enough for me. That's not the law. My contacts with my friends, my associates in business or personal life, that's my business. And I won't be telling the state. I won't give my name, rank, and serial number even to any of these so-called tracers.
That's right.
It's none of their business. It's none of the king's business.
Right.
I was born a free man. I will live and die a free man. And I believe that each one of you feels the same way. God bless you, and God bless America and Louisiana.